Unitarian Universalist Church, building community, inspiring growth, creating change. Here in the heart of Kansas City, we come together to create this hour of shared reflection so that we might be renewed in courage for these times and inspired to lives of greater dignity, higher purpose, deeper generosity, and more effective action. If you are new to Unitarian Universalism or to our congregation, we want to get to know you and share a part of your journey. If this place is already your spiritual home, welcome once more. We need one another, and it is good to be together again. Through the gifts of technology, we also gather virtually to celebrate community and connections as we lean into the values of justice, compassion, and reason. Welcome to all those who are joining us in this way today. Together, we learn the love that has the power to overcome both loneliness in the heart and oppression in the world. Welcome to our service this morning. May the words and music and images that we offer today nourish our best selves, calling forth abundant wisdom and love.
Arise, O souls, arise.
Good morning. I'm David Jackel, member of All Souls, and it is my pleasure to get to welcome you here this morning, those that are here in person or joining us online. We now have the pleasure of anyone that is new. We definitely want to recognize you. So if you are a first-time visitor, please stand or raise your hand, and our ushers will come forward and have a small token of our appreciation for you joining us today. And just keep your hand up until they've been a chance to be able to give it to you. Also, wanted to let everybody know we are having lunch after the service. All are invited, and please, our visitors, know that there's no charge for you to join us for lunch this afternoon. Also, upcoming on Saturday is the annual auction. If you haven't made plans, please come and join us for pretty much the biggest fundraiser we have a year, and it is always a wonderful time to share together. We welcome you here with all the identities that you hold and in your fullness as a person. We hope that you will bring your whole self to this time together.
Arise, the journey's begun.
Albert Einstein wrote, "Science without religion is lame. Religion without science is blind." The most beautiful emotion we can experience is the mystical, the knowledge of the existence of something we cannot penetrate. It is the power of all true art and science. Those to whom this emotion is a stranger, who can no longer wonder and stand wrapped in awe, are as good as dead. To know that what is impenetrable to us really does exist as the highest wisdom and the most radiant beauty, which our dull faculties can comprehend only in their most primitive forms. This knowledge, this feeling, is at the center of true religiousness. In this sense, and in this sense only, I belong to the rank of the devoutly religious.
Good morning. My name is Akiko, and I light this chalice for justice, equality, and compassion in human relations.
Now, if you will stand as you are willing or able and recite our covenant with us. Goodwill is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Can I get any children or people young at heart to come up here for a story? Have a seat right here. We got a couple of them. Does anybody else want to come up? Oh, here we go. All right, so my name is Carissa Stevens, as probably a lot of you guys know, and most of you guys. I teach Sunday school downstairs, and today I'm going to read Little Poet Walt Whitman, Miracles Everywhere by Kate Coombs, and Art by Carme Lemiscades. So we're going to try to work with the microphone and holding the book. We'll see how it goes. Everything is a miracle. As to me, I know of nothing else but miracles. The houses and towns. Whether I walk the streets of Manhattan or dart my sight or dart my sight over the roofs of houses towards the sky. The beach, or wade with naked feet along the beach, just in the edge of the water. The trees, or stand under trees in the woods. My family, or talk by day with anyone I love, or sit at the table at dinner with the rest. The bees, or watch honeybees busy around the hive of a summer forenoon. I guess you guys have the big pictures up there. I don't need to turn the book around. The horses, or animals feeding in the fields, and the cows. The birds, or birds, and butterflies, of the wonderfulness of insects in the air. The sunset, or the wonderfulness of the sundown. The moon and the stars, or of stars shining so quiet and bright, or the exquisite, delicate, thin curve of the new moon in spring. Everything is a miracle. To me, every hour of the light and dark is a miracle. Thank you, and now I believe I will go ahead and escort these guys down for their class.
Good morning. Our first reading today is really a series of 4 short readings called What is a Miracle? 4 Ideas. The first from Mike Essig, entitled Small Miracles. Yesterday, I paid my internet service provider to double my internet speed. For a moment, it seemed like a miracle. Today, it just seems normal. How quickly we forget. From Albert Einstein. There are only 2 ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. From the Buddhist monk Thich Nhat Hanh. The miracle is not to walk on water. The miracle is to walk on the green earth, dwelling deeply in the present moment and feeling truly alive. And finally, from God in the movie Bruce Almighty. Parting your soup is not a miracle, Bruce. It's a magic trick. A single mom who's working 2 jobs and still finds time to take her kid to soccer practice, that's a miracle. A teenager who says no to drugs and yes to an education, that's a miracle. People want me to do everything for them, but what they don't realize is they have the power. You want to see a miracle, son? Be the miracle.
Can an atheist scientist believe in miracles? By Dr. Jackel and Duffin. 20 years later, and after many trips to the Vatican archives, I have published 2 books on medicine and religion. In the first, Medical Miracles, I analyzed 1,400 miracles used in the canonization process for several hundred saints over the course of 400 years. Almost all of these miracles are healings, and the majority involved up-to-date science and the testimony of physicians. The research uncovered dramatic stories of recovery and courage. It revealed some striking parallels between medicine and religion in terms of reasoning and purpose. And it showed the church had not shrunk from science in its deliberations over the miraculous. Though still an atheist, I believe in miracles, wondrous things that happen for which we can find no scientific explanation.
So several months ago, after we had finished our pledge campaign of the prior year, I pondered about it for a long time. The theme, if you remember, of that campaign was intention, intentionality in giving. But I still felt there was something missing, and what I came to believe was missing was an intentionality in why we give. So then that started me down the path of thinking about why I give, why I pledge, why I give the time that I do, right? And that led to thinking about the most rewarding job I had, which I will tell you about. Because what made it rewarding was it was the place where I felt I saw miracles happen. So it's the year 2000. I have co-founded a nonprofit organization, and one of our primary tasks is providing HIV prevention education, testing services, actually in the Johnson County area. One of the programs that I started was called Healthy Transitions, and that was a group for men who were in marriages but having sex with men outside of those marriages. It's a very hard group to reach for obvious reasons, right? But I knew from my own personal struggles that there were other people who had struggled with that issue. And I wanted to provide a program which turned out to be a support group where those men could come together, talk about what they were dealing with. We met twice a month. We did that for 6 years. Over the course of that time, 70 people came through the program. And you could see them struggle with this conflict. You could see them struggle with identity. You could see them struggle with relationships, with wives, with children especially. And what we often heard was, there's no way I could ever tell my wife. It would hurt her too much. But the transformation that you saw over and over again was, there's no way I cannot tell her. I'm already hurting her too much. And the same with kids. And of course, the fear that the kids would reject them. Many times the kids embrace them. The fear that they would reject them, and sometimes that happened. And in some cases, their child came out to them before they came out, which was especially a hard struggle. But it was an amazing program. The transformations really were miraculous. And then that's when I thought, that's what I want for All Souls. I want this to be a place where people come for miracles to happen, for transformations to happen. And that's not to say that that's not already going on, right? But then that led to more questions. Is this a vision that other people share here? The idea of miracles, do you even believe in miracles? I mean, is that something that can happen? What is a miracle? Okay. So when you came in, hopefully you got a card and a pen, because I'm going to ask you to make some notes for yourself initially. If you didn't get a card or a pen, if you just stick your hand up, we've got an usher who will drop them off to you. So hang on, they're picking them up. and they'll be coming forward. So what my plan is here is that I'm going to talk a little bit about miracles, different ways of thinking about them, viewing them. And as I do, feel free to make some notes to yourself about, yeah, that works for me as a miracle, that doesn't work. We're going to use the other side of your card for a second question coming later. What I want to do with these cards is when we take up the offering at the end of the service, I want you to put them in a basket if you want to. Keep them anonymous, and we will scatter them at the lunch tables so that other people can read other people's ideas about miracles and the other side, which is coming up later. So again, make some notes what you think miracles are, what the parameters are. You may even write, I don't believe in miracles. That's okay. Maybe in the course of this reflection, you will change your mind. I hope you stay open to it. In researching what the UU tradition is about miracles, it was interesting. In the 1850s in Boston, there was a lot of turmoil about miracles, about the literal interpretation of the Bible, about the Trinity. So much so, churches were splitting apart left and right. I mean, it was chaos. I had more on that history, but for the sake of time, we're going to fast forward to 2015. Unitarian Universalist Association, the Office of Curricula and Faith Development, put together a curriculum on miracles to be used as part of the education program in churches, multi-generational, from little kids all the way through adults, right? It was an 8-week session. It was uniquely Universalist and Unitarian in this way, and I'll read what they wrote. This is a religious search which simultaneously embraces the awesome truth of a miracle's mystery and the how and why of rational explanation. It invites a prolonged encounter with awe and wonder. That's actually pretty much in keeping with the Whitman story that we read with the children. That's only a part of his longer poem, and my thanks to Anthony, who found that book and brought it in for today's service. According to Whitman and Einstein as well, if we're open to the experience, everything becomes a miracle, right? Even the ordinary becomes extraordinary. For them, the daffodils that greeted you outside this morning, those are a miracle. And we have, let's see, Chuck Downing, Morris Meader, Ruth Robertson, and Jean Patterson to thank for those daffodils. They are our little miracle makers, I guess, right? But I'm not really okay with that idea that everything is a miracle. And my apologies to the miracle makers in that sense. The problem, I think, with finding everything to be a miracle is that we fall prey to the all in the all or nothing conundrum that sometimes people get into. Even with the Thich Nhat Hanh reading that we had, it reminds us that dwelling in the present moment can be a miracle. And that's true, but most of us have trouble spending 5 minutes in the present moment, let alone a whole day where the ordinary can become extraordinary. Isaac's short poem looked at miracles from a different angle, right? His was the idea that what's extraordinarily amazing can become mundane. Today's miracle can be tomorrow's yawn. Today's miracle if the internet goes down, can become, in fact, a disaster. Duffin, the scientist physician, saw miracles very differently and probably more along the lines of what I think of as a miracle. A rare event, an unlikely event, a seemingly random event. And then we have our own tradition, which suggests that we think about miracles as mystery and awe. Indeed, that is one of the sources. We have 6 sources of wisdom in the UU tradition, and one of those sources is that, the direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder. So let's go with that idea of mystery for a moment. I want to share a story with you, a deeply personal story told to me by one of our dear friends who gave me permission to share it. He was 14 or 15, living on a farm with his brothers, sisters, both of his parents. And this particular morning, his father was headed to the barn, and this boy had an amazing sense of impending doom, a sense of urgency. So he followed his father out to the barn. And as they got closer, the dad said, "I want you to go up in the far field and bring the tractor down." The kid hesitated, and Dad said, "No, now, go." So he went. Dad goes in the barn. He went part way, but that sense of urgency was so strong, it drove him back, and he went in the barn. And what he saw when he went in the barn was his father in the haymow pulling the rope that had been tied over the beam up. The son ran and he grabbed the rope from the father. The father said, "Let it go." And the son said no, and they had this tug of war. And finally the son yelled for his mother, and the mother came, and the father dropped the rope, and he left. So, the man telling me this story is still puzzled to this day. Where did that sense of urgency come from? That sense of doom. He says, "I'm still puzzled. I still don't know where it came from." I revisited that story with him at a later lunch, and I said, "Let me ask you a question. Was that a miracle?" And it was interesting. He thought about it for a while, and he said, "Yes, I think it was." Have you experienced a miracle? Have you observed someone experience a miracle like that? Now's where I want you to use the second side of your card. We'll take a 3-minute interlude with some music, and I want you to write down a miracle you've experienced or observed that you're willing to share with others. If you're watching online, you can do this as well, and you could share them in the chat with each other if you want. And we'll pick these up in the offering basket. Now again, you may not believe in miracles, and that's fine. If you don't, then just doodle on the card, right? And nobody will be the wiser. So we'll pause for 3 minutes and think about it. What have you seen that was not easily explained? What transformation, what aha moment, what awe-inspiring, overwhelming sense of peace in a time of chaos and anxiety as a peace came over? Or what miracle of forgiveness or being the forgiven? Feel free to keep writing. Attributing miracles to God is one way people have of understanding the unexplainable. So, my miracle by God may be your miracle by Dr. Murphy, or somebody else's miracle by God through Dr. Murphy, right? What struck me later about that story that I told you was that that young man had a role in the miracle. So can we bring about miracles? Can we be part of the miracle? I chose the concept of miracles to tie in with our pledge campaign, which ends today. And it's somewhat ironic because miracles rarely involve money. They almost always involve people, right? Sometimes we're the receivers, and sometimes we're the givers. But I do believe we can make miracles happen when we are intentional about them. I told you my vision, why I'm investing my time and my money in All Souls. I want it to be a place where miracles happen, where lives are transformed, relationships are renewed. That's important to me. My question for you is, what do you want it to be? Why do you come? Right? Why does it matter to come on Sunday? The people who gave testimonials all talk to you about what they want this place to become, why they come. And what we know is that people who are actively engaged in the church outside of Sunday attendance are much more likely to have a sense of what they want the place to be, of what they want to happen. So I'm encouraging you, if Sunday attendance, if Sunday online viewing are your only sources, I encourage you to go deeper. Because this, I know, people have to have a vision of what they want if they're going to invest their money, but more importantly, the most valuable resource, which is time. So my question changes. Can miracles happen at All Souls? Of course they can, right? The question is, will you make miracles happen? And how do you plan to do that? So I want to leave you with a final story. It's actually the second miracle in that young man's life. So think about it. What's a 15-year-old to do with the experience of seeing their father attempt suicide? What do you do with that at that age, with the resources that a 15-year-old has? You've got the trauma of the visions that would play through your mind of what would have happened if you'd been 5 to 10 minutes later. If you hadn't defied your father, what emotions? Fear? Do you have to constantly worry, will you try it again? When will you try it again? What should I be watching for? How should I know? As an aside, the Forum, along with the Friends of the Forum Trust, along with the church, is doing a series of programs around cyberbullying and teen suicide. April 16th, Forum is a presentation for what they call gatekeepers. What are the signs that someone may be close to contemplating suicide? So I'd encourage you to pick that up and some others that we have coming that you'll see. But imagine the overwhelming responsibility of trying to keep your father safe from then on, and the anger. Why would he do that to us? Why would he leave our mother like that? So one result of the incident was that this young man's attitude towards his father, excuse me, I need some water, changed. He came to resent his father, this long-buried anger that carried on for a number of years. He viewed his father as weak. He lost respect for him. But then the young boy grew older, more mature, gained some resources about how to deal with these things. And one day it became clear to him, just as he had that sense of urgency, it returned, and he knew he had no choice but to reconcile with his father. He called his sister. Is Dad home? Yes. Okay, don't let him leave. I'll be there in 5 hours. And off he went. And he reconciled. He apologized. They took drive after drive, and they talked, and they talked. On a later visit, he had to leave the next morning to catch a flight, and he had to leave very early, so he told his father, I have to leave early in the morning. You don't need to get up to see me off, but I'll let you know when I'm leaving. Gets up, yells in, hey, I'm leaving, Dad. I love you. Dad says, I love you too, son. The first time they'd ever said it to each other, and the last time, because his father died shortly thereafter. For me, this is a story about miracles. It's a miracle of salvation. It's a miracle of reconciliation. It's a miracle of wisdom. That young man's name is our Jim Mitchell. And I thank you, Jim, for letting us share that story. Jim's stories are really miracles of love, aren't they? It's really about love. I think every miracle in its essence is about love. So pay attention, be mindful, be thoughtful, take risks, take action, do all of these things. Because acting without thought will make one a brute. And thinking without acting will make one crazy.
May it please the court. I'm Bill Raney, and I've been asked to speak on the topic of gratitude. I've also been asked to make lunch today, which I hope you will attend and enjoy. My wife, Suzanne, and I have been members of All Souls since 2006, and I'm thankful for many memories here. But my first memory is older than 2006. I am thankful to All Souls. No, she knew I was going to cry. I'm thankful to All Souls for hosting my wedding ceremony 23 years ago to Suzanne King. We were not members of the church at the time, but Suzanne's dad, Dick, was. The seated minister was not available to officiate, so we asked a family friend, a Methodist minister who was unfamiliar with All Souls, to conduct the service. When we first met with her to discuss the service, she began, well, Bill, First, you will stand at the altar and wait for Suzanne to enter. No altar, we said. Oh, well then come to the front of the church where the cross is. No cross, we said. A little flustered, she asked, well, what is there at the front of the church? Well, there's this big macrame thing. And a podium. Thankfully, she could work with a podium. Good practical Methodist. Although a much sadder memory, I'm just as thankful for All Souls several years later, hosting the funeral for Suzanne's dad, Dick. Dick was a member here and former president of the board. There was an outpouring of love and gratitude to his memory, and All Souls members made my family feel loved at a time of darkness and loss. Finally, I'm thankful to All Souls showing my children that love, intellect, and acceptance are essential parts of a liberal spiritual experience. They saw adults treat them with respect and love from the time they were babies. They've made me the proudest dad ever. Whether it's love for people regardless of race, gender, or sexual orientation, or speaking out against bullying, they learned it here. All my children have been taught to speak the truth, even when the whole world wants them to lie. Finally, one funny dad joke. Whenever they light the chalice, no matter which of the 7 principles they choose, when they come back to the seat, I say, that's a good one. I think that's a good dad joke. The offering will now be received.
This world
Please join me in the dedication of our offering. We dedicate our offerings and our actions to the mission at the heart of this congregation, to build respectful, caring community, to inspire personal and spiritual growth, and to create change toward a just and compassionate society.
Choir members who didn't get your little cards picked up, please just pop them on the piano when we're finished. Thank you. The mythic, the emotional, the poetic, the empirical, the microcosmic, the macrocosmic, allowing for a plurality of truths is actually more sophisticated than a narrowly scientific or religious state of mind. Perhaps all miracles are the same, none bigger, none smaller than another. They occur naturally as expressions of love. And the real miracle is the love that inspires them. Go be the miracle.